Hey everybody, Tim Anderson here, aka Renfell. Welcome to the latest episode in Tim's Tabletop Tips, where I dive into those little tips and tricks things that I previously mentioned for DMs, both new and old. This is just my take on things. If you don't know who I am, I regularly DM a campaign over on the Weave and Void Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/Weave and Void with the adventuring party of Nathan Napalm, Simmerk, Bounty Code, Sparrow, and my wife and my brother. And I, along with my wife and my brother, am the creator of The Weave of the Void, which is the world behind you, which is being produced by the Wandering Hermits, which are the three of us. You can find more information about this over at our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. Our 5th edition sourcebook and campaign modules are due out Q2 of 2022. We're also building a point and click adventure game. There's a free demo you can download today. We also have a series of books that are like Dragonlance with chapters being published twice a month through Patreon. Patreon. Find out information about that over at the Patreon page. Let's dive in. So, I've obviously been DMing for a very long time, since the mid 90s. Second edition was always my favorite. That's what I grew up with. I'm only 42, so first edition was before my time, but I definitely got into second edition. And one of the things I learned very early on from one of my best friends, Ted, who's also like my de facto D&D mentor, is never kill off the player characters. And I'm a firm believer in this. Now, this is not something that everyone does. Lots of people play campaigns where they kill off the player characters. I do not agree with that. And the reason is because when I'm sitting down to play with people, I'm usually doing something that's going to last for at least a year, if not longer. I like to do campaigns that have storylines. And it might be something that's okay for like one shot adventures, but when we're talking about things that are going to pan out over the course of months to years, I really like to make sure that there's an epic story involved. And there can be death and there can be things that happen, but permanent death and permanent, killing off of the characters is not something I'm a fan of. As a result, I often do a lot of on the fly tweaking to encounters if it looks like things are getting out of hand. Now, I kind of talked about this in the previous episode on adjusting difficulty on the fly for encounters, and I had mentioned, reducing or adding attacks, so on and so forth, or adding or reducing hit points, having abilities, so on and so forth. But that's just for adjusting the difficulty. One of the things that I mentioned in that video was the druid in the ruins of, I forget what they're called now, the ruins of Thorntree or whatever, in the Lost Mine of Andover. There's this moment when the player characters get to this area and there's a green dragon there, and the guidebook, the module specifically says the players aren't going to be capable of killing off the dragon, but the intent is not to kill it, but just to get it to half hit points so that it flies away. Now, in the back of my mind, I already knew that this is going to be an encounter that's probably going to kick their butts. And the saving grace here is that there's a druid who lives in town. Now, there's nothing in the module that says that that druid is a playable character. I don't care. Those are rules that I can bend if I need to. So in the back of my mind, I had this scenario as an emergency situation where if the party were to start to look like they were having a party wipe, where they were all going to get knocked unconscious, that druid was going to come in at the last minute and cast some spells, do some crazy things, and actually drive off the dragon, allowing him to rescue the characters and keep them from being eaten by the dragon. Now, some people will say, that's cheating, that's you know whatever. I don't agree with that. That's just my take on things. I do not like to kill off the player characters because I want the characters to have an epic adventure that goes on. Do I want there to be scenarios where there is risk involved? Absolutely, but there are a lot of other ways that you can, and I'm going to use air quotes here, there's a lot of other ways that you can punish the characters apart from killing their character off because nothing ruins the fun more than, in my mind, than killing off someone's character, because now this character that they've grown attached to and have had so much fun with is suddenly offed and they're not allowed to play it anymore, and that's no longer fun for them. Now, if it's a mutual thing where a player has to leave a session for some reason, for family reasons or whatever. As an example, my brother wasn't sure if he was going to be able to participate in the entirety of the current campaign that we're currently running because he has some commitments with his ranch and everything else and with kids. He was thinking he was going to be able to do the first 2/3 of the campaign, but then he might have to miss like the last third. And so before we ever started, we sat down and we discussed with the group that, hey, this might have to happen. And if it does, we're going to kill off my brother's character in a really epic way so that the people who follow the stream are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. But it was done so with the knowledge that my brother was in on it and his character was going to be killed off at his behest and with his consent. But that's different than just nuking someone's characters in the middle of a campaign because you know, they got to 0 hit points and the dragon's breath killed them and you didn't have a resurrection spell or you didn't have a wand of resurrection. So in my world, I've never in any of the worlds I've DM'd in any of the campaigns I've ever run, players have never, not in 25 years of running campaigns, no one has ever had to use a resurrection spell in any of my campaigns, or use a resurrection rod, or drag a body back to town to get it resurrected by a priest. All that goes out the window because I want the players to keep having fun. Again, other ways that you can punish the players if you, and I'm using that word punish loosely, but there are other ways to make things difficult and add risk. Gear is always the surefire thing. Somebody's got a +2 longsword that they've grown attached to. Oh, well, I can take that away in a heartbeat. You go into an encounter, you get your butts kicked, you're down unconscious, and you get looted, baby. Like they took it from you. Now you can either go back and get vengeance and get that sword back, or you can just take the hit and move on because you can get another sword later on. So gear for me is always a much better motivator for that risk component than the fear of a player's character being killed off. Also, you can kidnap party members and have them go missing, things of that nature. Obviously, have other players be in on that. Maybe they, hey, I gotta go I gotta do this work thing. I'm gonna be gone for the next 2 weeks. Oh, totally. We can like kidnap your character and make that the campaign for the next 2 sessions of like rather than that character getting killed off, they're kidnapped and you go off and have to rescue them while the people are out. So that's my take on things. Don't kill the characters off. I'm not a fan of that. I think characters should be allowed to persist and continue their adventures. There are lots of other ways that you can address risk without needing to kill them off. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into how I like to DM my campaigns. If you want to know more, don't forget you can tune in to the twitch.tv /Weave and Void channel on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Central if you want to watch our group play. We're currently playing The Lost Mine of Foundelver, and then we're switching over to the Weave and the Void campaign starting in May or June when our tabletop books come out. We're going to be switching that campaign over, and we're going to be doing our homebrew campaign for the next year or so. So hopefully you'll stick around for all that stuff. If you want to pre-order the books or you just want to find more information out about what we're working on, don't forget the World of the Weave and the Void is being created by myself, my brother, and my wife. We are the Wandering Hermits, and you can find more information at patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. Also, don't forget we have a Discord channel. Links are down below. Hopefully we'll see you there as well. Stick around until the next episode. Stay safe, everybody. Have fun gaming.